Alright, so this video is for the tank players. If you enjoy playing tanks, you're new to Overwatch 2, or maybe you just need a refresher, I made this video just for you. I'm going to give you some helpful tips with every tank in Overwatch 2. D.Va is considered a dive tank. Even though the meta has changed a little bit for tanks, a lot of tanks still play similarly. First, for our primary fire, we have the fusion cannons, automatic short range spread weapon. This is what you see here. If you look at the bullet holes, you can see that the spread is pretty tight. So this won't be as great long range, but if you're up close, you're gonna do a lot of damage. As you can see, that's a lot of damage to Roadhog, and it gets your ult built up a lot quicker. When D.Va's outside of her mech, she has her light gun. This is a weapon that's similar to Mercy, if you played her before. It does a pretty good amount of damage, as you can see. It does a lot more damage at the head, and it's pretty accurate, but they can dodge it. If you land some shots and find somebody that's, low health, you can confirm a kill like this, but otherwise I wouldn't try to be too aggressive. And something I found out pretty late in Overwatch is that you can actually kill people with your mech. Any character that has a similar health pool to Tracer, this will be pretty effective on, but tanks, it really doesn't do that much damage, especially if they're full health. But if you call in your mech, it actually kills them. As you can see, it one-shots, but if you don't have a tank that's like really low, it most likely won't kill him, so I don't try to be too aggressive with this. Next, we have her defense matrix. Block projectiles in an area in front of you. As you can see, you have a meter on the side that lets you know how much you have. You can use it anytime you want, long as you have some of the bar on the screen. This ultimate can also eat Zarya's ults in any ult that's similar to it. Next, we have the micro missiles. Launch a volley of explosive rockets. A bit of extra damage you can add. And I also like to use her shift ability and use everything at the same time and do a whole bunch of damage, because if you fly into an enemy, it's going to also do damage. Of course, we have the passive roles. We have eject out of your mech when it's destroyed, and we have the tank role. Reduces knockback received, less ultimate generated by healing and damage received. Technically, D.Va has two ultimates, first being the self-destruct, eject and overload your mech, causing it to explode for a short time. You also have the call mech. This is when you're outside of your mech, you can call in a new mech. So you can actually just drop her ult where you're standing. If you use your shift ability, then press the ult button, it will send the ult in whatever direction you want to send it. Next, we have Doomfist. First up, for his primary fire, we have the hand cannon. Short range weapon with spread, reloads automatically. We also have his seismic slam, leap and smash the ground. As you can see, this is a short range leap. We also have the power block. Protect yourself from frontal attacks, blocking heavy damage, and powers rocket punch. So anytime you have incoming fire, you just want to stand in front of it, block some damage, and it will charge up your rocket punch. And that's what I want to get to, the rocket punch. Hold to charge, then release to launch forward and knock an enemy back. Damage increases if the enemy hits a wall. So punching enemies into walls increases the damage. As you can see, I'm going to punch this robot into the wall. And for the passive, we have the best defense. Dealing damage with the ability to create temporary personal health. If you look at the health, once I hit this robot, it'll add some more. Even on the seismic slam, it'll add some more. This is so that you can stay in the fights a lot longer. And he also has the tank roll passive. Lastly, we have Doomfist ultimate. We have the meteor strike. Press Q to leap up into the air, move to the targeted circle, then press left click to strike the targeted area. This will be different if you're on a console, but the method's pretty much the same. So once you press the ultimate, it goes up in the air. You can actually zoom out and land wherever you want. And the closer your enemy is in the middle of the circle, the more damage that enemy gets dealt to them. And lastly, just a helpful tip with Doomfist, you don't want to instantly use all your abilities. For example, if I was getting ready to fight this robot, I wouldn't want to just jump in here and go ahead and use my abilities, because now I'm stuck with no mobility. Yeah, I have this, but this is only going to keep you alive for so long. So the main tip I have for Doomfist is spread your abilities out. Don't use them all at once. Next, we have one of the newest tanks, Junker Queen. Junker Queen is actually one of my new favorites. So for Junker Queen, we have the primary weapon, and that's the pump action shotgun, scatter gun. It's just a normal shotgun that has a pretty tight spread. Next, we have the jagged blade. Active, throw the blade, reactivate to pull it back, along with any impaled enemy. Wound enemies hit by quick melee or throw, dealing damage over time. So here's the jagged blade. As you can see, it's stuck in Zarya. I can call it back and it'll pull her closer. But see, she's a tank, so I'm pretty sure that if it's a smaller character, it'll pull them a little bit further. So Zarya landed about right here in this area. Let's just pull her close. Yeah, see, Tracer went way over here. If they're smaller, they're going to get closer to you. Temporary health and movement speed to yourself and allies. Next, we have Carnage. Wound all enemies in front of you, dealing damage over time. You actually have kind of a wide area in front of you to swing this. So I'm going to swing this. As you can see, I hit both robots by swinging in that area. Every time an enemy is wounded, if it's by the knife or the carnage, she's going to gain health from that. This paired with her shift ability, she's going to be a character you want to use and be constantly generating health from your abilities. And for a passive, we have Adrenaline Rush, heal from all damage over time dealt by wounds. And we have the Tank Roll passive. Her ultimate is Rampage, charge forward, wounds enemies, dealing damage over time, and prevents them from being healed. You want to specifically use this when you have your team around so they can push and kill them while they have no healing, because the pocket healing in Overwatch is pretty bad. This ability can actually help you a lot if you apply it right. So I'm going to go forward. Anybody hit by it would have damage dealt to them and they can't heal. My advice when using her is you want to hug a corner or something to where you have constant cover and can peek in and out while using her. She's definitely a frontline tank, similar to Reinhardt, but definitely not the same. She has her own use cases. For example, you can pull people off ledges. Well, he didn't go off, but you get the concept. Next, we have Orisa. Now, Orisa is another one of my favorite tanks. In the beta, she was just so overpowered. Even now, she's still pretty strong. Her survivability is just amazing. First, we have the Augmented Fusion Driver. Automatic heat-based weapon, deals more damage at close range. This is her primary fire. As you can see, it's pretty accurate. It takes a little bit to actually hit the target, but if you aim at the head, it's accurate, and you can apply a lot of damage at medium range. As you can see, if you overheat, you'll have this short period to where it has to cool down. Next, we have the Energy Javelin. Launch your javelin at an enemy to stun and knock them back. More effective if the enemy hits a wall. Similar to Doomfist's ability. As you can see, I'm going to throw the javelin. He hits the wall. It even seems like it does more damage than Doomfist's Rocket Punch. Let's see what it does to Tracer. Oh yeah, that's a lot of damage. Next, we have Fortify. Gain temporary health, reducing all damage taken and becoming unstoppable while active heat generated by your weapon is reduced. So I'm going to stand here and take some damage. Okay, so they're doing a little bit of damage to me, but if I apply this ability, I have a short shield to reduce the amount of damage coming in. This is perfect in the middle of the fight, and this is one of the main reasons why Orisa has crazy survivability. Next, we have the Javelin Spin. This is another ability that contributes to the fact that she can survive so well. Spin your javelin to destroy projectiles and block melee attacks while also pushing enemies and increasing forward speed. You can go forward and push people away with this ability. My advice with this is, you want to use this similar to Doomfist. You want to keep one or the other available at all times. For example, if I use this, I do not want to use my javelin at any time. So I have about 12 seconds for the cooldown. I want to at least wait to about 4 or 5 seconds and then I'll use the javelin or some other ability. And she has the passive tank roll, and for our ultimate we have the Terra Surge. Sweeping enemies and anchor down, gaining the effects of Fortify and charging up a surge of damage. Use left click to unleash the surge early. Go over here and use the ult. We can charge it up and release. The more you charge it, the more damage is applied, and as you can see, you can go all the way up to 500%. I don't know if you're going to be able to land that because they can still move out the way, but you're going to want to apply as much damage as needed. So if they're about half health and you don't need max charge to kill them, don't go max charge. Just go maybe a little bit, maybe go to like 200 or maybe not even that. Go to the percentage depending on the health of the enemies that are near you. Next, we have my #1 favorite tank, and that's Reinhardt. So he has his rocket hammer, devastating melee weapon. That's all that's said. You just can walk up to people and swing his hammer. We have his charge ability, charge forward and smash an enemy against a wall. So you could charge and actually hit him against the wall. If you played Overwatch 1, you may know that you could not be able to cancel Reinhardt's charge ability, but now you can, and you have more steering ability. And what I mean by that, you can actually steer his charge a lot more and cancel it if you don't want to like fly off an edge. But if you're super advanced with Reinhardt, you can actually charge forward and stop right before the edge and knock people off. For example, and they're gone. If you can line it up and land it, it's a pretty satisfying move to do. We also have the Fire Strike, launch a fiery projectile. This time around in Overwatch 2, they gave Reinhardt 2 of the Fire Strikes, so we can just throw them, and as you can see, we have a cooldown for one. I could throw the other one, and we also have the Barrier Field. Hold right click to deploy a frontal energy barrier. His shield, I believe, got reduced by a little bit, but it's still one of the best shields in the game because it's so big and you can actually protect most of your team with it. And for his ultimate, we have Earth Shatter, knock down all enemies in front of you. This is a simple ult, but you wouldn't believe how useful it can be. It can cancel ults, but you gotta use it at the right time. You don't wanna waste it. And a helpful tip with Reinhardt is you wanna conserve your shield. If you're with your team, you don't wanna constantly just sit here and have your shield open. You wanna use your shield unless you have to. Use cover and then move forward to hit the enemies. And if you get stuck in a situation to where you can't get cover and you need to cover yourself or your team, use your shield. Use it for that reason alone. Don't like flicker it and try to walk up to them and then do damage, because when you try to go back, you're not gonna have it. Alright, so next we're taking a look at Roadhog. Roadhog was one of my favorite tanks in Overwatch 2. I actually made a video on him like 5 years ago. Let's take a look at his moves. He has the scrap gun, short range spread weapon. He also has the medium range spread weapon as his alternate fire. We also have the chain hook, drag a targeted enemy to you. As you can see, I can grab him real quick. The quick tip while I'm on the hook is you actually need to melee right after you do this. It may not confirm a kill like every time, but it adds a bit of extra damage. For example, hook, shoot, melee. Next, we have the take a breather. Heal yourself and reduce damage taken over a short time. This allows you to heal. So we're at 300 even, as you can see. We're going to use the take a breather. And it filled me all the way up to 650. So that adds 350 health to your health bar. Of course, he's a tank, so he has the tank roll passive. And his ultimate is the whole hog. Damage and knock back enemies in front of you. So for his whole hog, back in the past, you wasn't able to cancel it, but now you can and actually heal in the middle of your ultimate. This is very helpful because in the past, say Genji wants to deflect you, you need to stop shooting because all those bullets are coming right back at you. So you can now, and you also can heal when needed. Whole hog, I'm gonna shoot. I can actually stop the heal, and I can even hook people and go back into my ult. And one major tip I have with Roadhog is you want to be in the front, you want to avoid Reapers, Anas, and anybody that can prevent you from healing or do a lot of damage up close. So you just want to make sure you stay on the front line with Roadhog. Okay, so Sigma is a tank that took me a little bit to get used to, but he's actually a very, very good character. We have his Hyper Spheres, launch 2 charges which implode after a short duration, dealing damage in an area. This is his primary attack. And as you can see, these can actually bounce off of walls. Let's say I couldn't see these robots right here. This wall is closed and I wanted to get some shots off on them. You can just use it and bounce it off the wall. You don't even have to go inside of a building or, you know, actually engage with the enemy up close. You can just bounce it off the wall and hit them at an angle that they can't see you in. Next, we have the kinetic grasp. Absorb projectiles in front of you and convert them into shields. It's as simple as it sounds. You just want to step in front of some projectiles, and this will add shield to your health bar. Next, we have accretion. Gather a massive debris, throw it at an enemy to knock them down. Very simple. With some characters, you can actually just stun them out of their ult or just back people away from you. It's a really good move to use, especially since Sigma doesn't have much mobility. And we also have the experimental barrier. Hold to propel a floating barrier, release to stop. Press again to recall the barrier to you. So you can actually just throw this and stop it wherever you want. You can also shoot through this, which makes Sigma very useful. And you have to return it so that it can charge again. As long as you have charge, you can actually use this. He has the passive tank roll, and for his ultimate, we have the graphitic flux. Manipulate the ground to lift enemies into the air and slam back down. All right, so I'm going to use this to lift Orisa. As you can see, she's in the air, and you drop her. It does that much damage, so if they aren't low, it most likely won't kill them, but it allows them to be low so that your teammates can kill them. And Sigma's also a tank that you want to stay on the front line, you want to hold a corner. For example, if this was the choke point in the map, you want to just hold the corner, peek in, and do damage this way. Throw your shield every now and then. When the tanks and everybody try to push up, you want to push them back. Next, we have Winston. Now, a lot of people have a lot of different strats with Winston, but I'm going to explain to you how I play Winston. So first, we have the Tesla cannon, we have the electrical frontal cone weapon, and we have the hold to charge release to fire focused electricity. So this is his alternate fire, which is kind of ranged. So this is his normal base attack. Very good when you're going against somebody like Tracer and you can't really aim and catch them. You can just use this primary fire and it's going to catch her as long as she's close. But we also have the alternate fire. And they recently just added this in Overwatch 2. So you can actually just charge it and shoot them like that, and it does a pretty good amount of damage. One strat with this is I like to jump up in the air, and when I land on people, do a little extra damage like that. We also have the jump back, like I just showed you. You jump in the air with shift and you can land on people doing damage. And we also have his barrier projector. The shield to save him when he's very low. You know, you can use this to wait for your jump to come back and you can leap out to another safe spot. He also has the passive tank roll, and his ultimate is the primal rage. Gain immense health, but you can only leap and punch enemies. And we're using his ultimate, and as you can see, you knock around people and you have a whole bunch of health and you can leap pretty rapidly. The cooldown's pretty quick, honestly. Winston is a dive tank. You want to get in and get out as soon as possible. Do as much damage as you can. You never just want to just stay on the front line and just try to do damage, unless it's a specific situation and you want to use your barrier shield to give some cover. But otherwise, you really want to try to leap and take out the healers and the smaller people with Winston, because you can hop on them, do your little damage, and get out of there. Next, we have Wrecking Ball, one of the most hated tanks. And I don't mean hated in a bad way, like he's bad, but whenever you pick this character, most of the time your teammate's gonna say you're throwing. That's just the reality of Overwatch 2. I don't know why, but that's the common pattern when you play Wrecking Ball. But I'm gonna give you a couple of tips on this character because he's still useful in certain situations. So we have the quad cannons, automatic assault weapons. As you can see, we have them right here. Here's the spread. They're pretty accurate. You aim at the head, you can do a pretty good amount of damage. Let's test this on Tracer. See how fast it kills her. Well, yeah, it kills her pretty quick. We also have the grappling claw. Launch your grappling claw to rapidly swing around the area. Enables high-speed collisions to damage and knock back enemies. So, we have the grapple. So I'm going to use the grapple. And it allows you to gain momentum and move quickly throughout the map. And if you hit somebody while you're grappling, it's going to do a lot of damage. As you can see, I glowed orange, and that's how you know that if you touch somebody, you will do damage. Next, we have the roll, and I just showed you that. Transform into a ball and increase the maximum movement speed. This is automatically done when you grapple, but you can do it manually just by pressing shift and moving around. This increases your movement speed by a lot. Next, we have the pile driver. You want to pair this with the grappling claw. You want to grapple and come down with it, and you do a pretty good amount of damage when doing this. What I like to do with this move is I like to grapple, use the move, and as they're in the air, shoot them as they come down. And of course, passive tank roll, just like every other tank. And we also have the adaptive shield. Create temporary personal extra health. Amount increases with more enemies nearby. So if I use it over here rather than over here, most likely I'll get more health. So when you use this, you just want to press E, and it adds a little bit of extra health just in case you need that little bit of extra health to get away, because Wrecking Ball is honestly just a bullet sponge. That's all he is. Just a big target, a big ball for people to shoot at, and you're literally supposed to run into people, so you're going to get shot at a lot. So this is going to be your best friend, not while you're going into the fight, but as you're heading out of the fight. And lastly, we have the Minefield Ultimate. Deploy a massive field of proximity mines. So if I go over here and press Q, a whole bunch of mines will come out, and they're pretty deadly. One will most likely get you close to death, but as you can see, that robot hit one, bounced into the other ones, and ultimately he died. So it's a good move if you want to hold down a point or any specific location. And last on the list, we have Zarya. She's another one of my favorite tanks. As you can see, she has the particle cannon, short range linear beam weapon for her primary fire, and her alternate fire is an energy grenade launcher. So this is her primary beam. As you can see, it doesn't do that much damage, but if you use another ability that she has, which is the particle barrier or the projected barrier. The projected barrier allows you to throw your barrier on the ally. Your particle barrier is your shift ability, which allows you to throw it on yourself. But you have two of these barriers, so you have the option to use one on yourself, one on your teammates, or maybe two on your teammates, or just both of them on yourself. Whatever you want to do. And whenever somebody shoots at you while you have this up, it's going to charge your weapon. As you can see, I'm up to 4. Let's see if we can get some more charge. 5, and it's going to do slightly more damage. But you have to be careful with this though, because it will protect you, but if too much damage is being done to you, it'll just crack the shield and you'll be exposed. So you want to throw this on teammates that are taking a lot of heavy fire, or to save your life, or to balance out when you're actually going into a fight. You want to be able to have cover on yourself and charge up as much as possible, so you want to stay on the front line. For the passive, we have energy, damage blocked by barrier, increases particle cannon, as I mentioned before, and we have the passive tank roll. For our ultimate, we have the graviton surge, launch a gravity well that pulls enemies to it. This is a very good move to pair with other ultimates. We're going to shoot her graviton surge, and it pulls everybody in, and you can just sit and do damage to them. Very nice move, like I said before, especially when you pair it with other ultimates. For example, Hanzo. Put everybody in that ultimate, you can shoot his dragon straight through it. They can't block it, they can't do anything about it. That's going to be it for the video. If you stayed this far, thank you so much, and I'm going to make more videos like this if you guys want to see more, so drop a like if you want to see more videos like this. And with all that being said, I'll see you in the next video. If you stayed this late in the video, comment tank down below to let me know you're a real one.